All right, it's time for Yogi and the BeachMan. Hi, I'm Jim the Yogi.
And I'm Rick Beach, the Beachman.
We're two Michigan transplants now living in Southwest Florida.
In fact, we're cousins born in 1964, just a month apart.
I like to meditate.
And I like to play bass in a band.
I'm into chanting Om.
And I'm into throwing down some classic rock.
But together, we're on a mission
to promote people that are helping other people.
We want to make the world a better place.
One conversation at a time.
So sit back,
turn up the volume,
and get ready to laugh.
Because we like to have fun
while we spread the love.
Interviewing lovely people. Yes, we have fun.
Welcome to this week's episode of Yogi and the Beachman. Today we are with Priyanka. She is a life and relationship coach and a yoga teacher. Priyanka, welcome to our show. I appreciate you being with me today.
Thank you, Jim. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
I almost said us. I'm so used to saying us because my co-host, the Beachman's normally with me, but he's unable to be here today. So
yes,
he plays in a rock and roll band, and he double booked himself and didn't realize it to the last minute, and so here we are.
No worries.
So tell us about yourself, Priyanka.
Yeah. So Jim, I am a life and a relationship coach and a yoga teacher, as you said. I grew up in India, and I came here after I married. I have been here for 24 years. And so I love that I have the combination of the East and the West.
Sure.
And that comes in my yoga practice. It comes in my coaching, whether it is relationships or life coaching. I have 3 kids, so lots of family experience. And initially, I have a degree in computer science, and I realized with family growing and the kids and a full household, lots of things going on with my mother-in-law, and I got very interested in relationships and how to be better with each other and focus more on how your day-to-day goes in a family and relationships. And that curiosity and desire led me to take a bunch of courses and classes, and I got very interested. So most of my training is from the Western world in the coaching scenario, but I do relate a lot to my growing up and upbringing, when I talk to my cousins and family and try to link things. So it's very interesting, and I really enjoy what I do.
Very nice. How old were you when you moved out of India?
I was 20.
Okay. So you spent most of your adolescent years and everything there. And did you have training in yoga there?
No formal training in yoga, no training in yoga at all, but kind of growing up in India, yoga is in the air. So without any training, you're sitting on the floor, you're squatting, or you're like stretching through the day, or you're taking a long deep breath. So it's kind of in the air during the day with you without any formal practice. But I did my yoga training here.
Okay, very cool. And I imagine, I'm guessing that you had a prearranged marriage?
No, actually,
Okay.
not if you
Most Indian women that I've met and some really dear friends have either had prearranged marriages or their family was trying to make that happen. So
Yes, yeah. Most of the marriages used to be like that. Things are changing.
okay.
But for me, not prearranged. So the other way.
Okay. Well, I thought that with your topic that would really be some like, I mean, the Western relationships obviously are quite different than a prearranged relationship, and I just imagine the dynamics of working with somebody that you barely know to build a strong relationship is going to be a little different than Western people that have been usually together for a while before they get married. So
definitely, yeah, it is. It is very different. And talking about the prearranged system, the Eastern system. It used to happen a lot there. And it worked because the marriage is one small part of a bigger system where when the two people are getting married, it's not just their marriage, it's like two families coming together or the community coming together. With that one relationship of a husband and wife, there are many other relationships that are created. Those families then begin to interact a lot. There are so many festivals and customs, and they see each other and they exchange gifts and all kinds of things. So that's marriage is a small part of a bigger system. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so there is not that much pressure on just that marriage itself, because as a man or a woman, you're very entertained. Your life is very full with so much that is going outside you. A lot of people, a lot of interactions, lot of rituals, customs that are happening, that the burden on just that one relationship is not as much. There is a lot of interest and activities and excitement going on around you. Then let's say if you were, let's say, in just a marriage in the Western world, you can have everything here also, right? Lots of community,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. But let's say typically there is a lot of load and pressure on that one relationship of a husband and wife to please each other or do everything together, or all the expectations. Um, that's a lot on those two people, as opposed to distributed in your family or community.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one big difference.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like you're marry into a community, which is really special and not
Yeah.
just so isolated as we often are in the West.
Yeah.
So, what was the spark? What made you change from, did you say computer science,
Mhm.
to being a relationship coach?
Yeah. So I did my degree in computer science, and then I raised my kids for like 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And raising the kids, again, for me, there's a lot of difference. If I were in India with the same family, same kids, same husband, it would be a different lifestyle. Because again, the community is such a huge piece. Like when I go back, I see my cousins or my brother's families, the way they raise kids or their relationships are, it's completely different from like what I I have had over here. Um, so I did not get the benefit of that built-in system, right? Back home, there was a system of how you raise kids, whether you're scolding them or whatever. The kids are going to love you just as much, because it's the same that's happening in every household. So it's not like out of the ordinary. I mean, kids know parents are going to scold us. Everybody scolds. They love their pets fiercely still. So when I go back, I see my cousins and they're scolding their kids and then this, but the kids are keep running to their parents again. And I'm like, my goodness. And I have to watch what I say in front of my kids. And I have to be polite and choose my words and all of that. And they don't have to do anything there. And the kids are coming and running to their parents, we love you, and this and that. So being placed out of that whole system, and there are good and bad in every system if we were to
Sure.
right? It's not that one is all good or one is all bad. There are pros and cons everywhere. But being pulled out of that system and being placed in a different way where I didn't know how things operate over here, I had to learn it fresh. So that was my reason to learn it the Western way and take courses, because the Eastern way is not going to apply for me here, just like this method is not going to apply over there. So that's what made me curious and desirous to learn the Western way of doing things and compare and see similarities with the Eastern and the differences. Because relationships are important and they're
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. we can be successful in the world, making money or achieving success or really doing wonderful things in the world and changing people's lives. When we do come home and we have relationships, and being able to exist in them, is a skill worth learning.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's, more than just existing in the relationship. I mean, if you're not happy in your primary relationships, if those aren't, really gelling and well, then you're not going to be happy in the rest of your life. It's going to spill over.
True.
But and I think it's what you're doing, helping people to build that is essential.
Hmm.
So how
Yeah.
how do you start to work with somebody?
Yeah. So I first have a consultation call. It's
Mm-hmm.
a consultation call on my website that can be booked, where I talk to the potential clients and I get to know them, what their struggles are, what they try to identify, what their patterns are, where they're getting stuck, what their vision is, try to get some rough idea of what's going on in their lives, and see if they are a fit for me. Um, and then based on that, we book further calls. So right now the program I have is for 3 months, where I do one call every week. It lasts 45 minutes to an hour, um, where I talk to them and they open up, and we try to analyze, figure out a strategy and some skills and tools, or the mindset and what's going on in the background, what we can do about it. And during the week, they can communicate with me through email. Um, and there's one program lasts 12 calls, which is 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and it looked like you're primarily working with women from
Yes.
the feel I got from, okay.
I
And
do have
are,
some
go ahead.
couples also, but yes, primarily women.
Okay.
Mm.
And are you seeing patterns in relationships?
Yes. Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Um, One pattern in relationships is, things are exciting in the beginning, is two new people and, all their biology and physiology and excitement, attraction, and all of that. But as more time goes by, things begin to build up, and all that default attraction and, the initial things, they begin to, you get into a different phase. You cannot be in that first exciting phase all your life. You get to be in a different phase, with other things coming in your lives. One pattern is complaining. So, and more so, if we were to speak a bigger word, like the words you use. Um, the words you end up using in your relationship, it makes or breaks relationships. So a lot of complaining begins to come, um, eh, where, as humans, it's easy for us to complain what we don't like, tell it as a complaint, as opposed to trying to figure out what is it that we are wanting instead, and speaking their desire. That takes a couple of steps. Easier is to just complain, right?
Yeah.
But when you do that again and again and again, the other person gets defensive, and before you know, you're attacking each other, right? That
Mm-hmm.
the progression of things. So complaining is definitely not being able to find out what you desire and be able to speak that in a way that is non-defensive, non-attacking. That is definitely a pattern. And and it is not just at the mouth level, not just at the word level, that you're not using the right word. Words come from deeper within, from your brain, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how you begin to process things, what you're seeing, what you begin to focus on, all of that keeps changing as you go on, and all of that, what goes on in your mind, determines the words that you speak, and that determines what you create around you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, stopping that cycle of complaining and taking a moment to be aware and present, to be like, okay, instead of complaining, how can this be better said so it doesn't come through as complaining, but the other person understands my intention and my actions to achieve the goal of whatever that is without turning that or escalating that into a fight. That takes some awareness, some self inquiry to figure all that out, exactly what words I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, do you start to use a little bit of meditation to help build people's awareness?
Yeah. So first of all, just people coming in with the issues, coming in being, oh, this is the issue. That's a huge, big step. That at least you know what's going on and you're willing to improve it. That's mindfulness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then be
Absolutely.
able to break it apart and seeing what are the junctions where you could have made a different choice, or why is it that you went on this path. And being able to see there were other paths available at that point. Sometimes we don't even know we have other choices. So being able to explore that at all these junctions, you could have all these other choices. And what's the reason you are making this choice that you made? Just being mindful at all the different stages makes you aware, and it takes practice to be able to make those different choices. It's a whole process. So there's mindfulness in analyzing, and then there's a meditation, just taking a deep breath. Like the sky is not falling. We may feel like it is. Just take a deep breath. Nothing is falling. Being able to close your eyes or take a deeper breath or include meditation as a part of your life. So you know that there's that one place where you could just calm down for a little bit, and there's no disaster really happening. Um, because most of the interactions are so full of drama.
Yeah.
So being able to realize the difference between facts and thoughts is a huge thing also. um, Thoughts are thoughts. Like if there's an argument or a conversation going on, most of the sentences in that are thoughts of people. And we get offended by the thoughts, we get defensive and we attack. But being able to see those are just thoughts, they are not facts. So the ability to draw out facts from a conversation and not get lost in the drama of the thoughts is a huge skill, right? That allows
Yeah.
you to be more emotionally stable and have a better focus and a goal of what you want to achieve, as opposed to being completely immersed in the drama of the thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, most times we're just reacting. Yeah, we're reactive. Somebody said something and triggered us, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're uh, almost unconditionally just responding to that whatever it was.
Hmm.
Uh, I One of my favorite teachers is from India, is Sadhguru. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yes, yeah, I
I
am.
was Great. I was at one of his programs, and he was talking about, at any given moment in a relationship or at any time, to just think, what's the most loving thing I can do? And I really took that to heart in my relationships. And it's interesting because, when I remember to do it, which I'm better at doing it, first it was a practice of, because there is that responsiveness. So when I asked myself, I would see like, what's the most loving thing I could do? And my mind would show me what's the most loving thing I could do. There'd sometimes be this like ego, like, yeah, but I don't want to do that. So it's, you have to also get over that ego side where, sometimes it's, surrendering or being compassionate or, not winning the argument. The most loving thing isn't always what you feel like you need.
Hmm.
But when you do and respond with the most loving thing, then it makes a big shift. The relationship gets, on track. It's going in a better direction. And I
Yeah,
just love that I learned that from him.
yeah, yeah. And that is very beautiful things. Some very beautiful things you said. What's the most loving thing you can do, and being just mindful of what surrendering would look like, what it would look like to not have winning the argument as your goal. And I also say that we all are humans and we are not going to be 10 on 10 all the time.
Right.
So, but being mindful of all these things will increase our likelihood of making these kind of choices more than not. So it doesn't have to be 10 on 10. I don't think anyone is. But even if you are 2 out of 10, if you can be 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10, or if you can, improve, that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I found that, it works not even, in those times of arguments or stress or triggers, but you can use that anytime, What's the most loving thing I can do right now? Maybe it's unloading the dishwasher, giving my partner, something in an act of service. And it's just so helpful in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you mentioned something earlier about the initial stage of a relationship, and I used to like encourage people, you know, don't do anything rash, like get married or do move in together when you're in that in love kind of phase where everything's rosy and great, and wait till after that, because that's when you really get to know if you like that person. I like to say it's almost like you fall out of love, and that's when the work begins. That's when the real work of love begins to make the relationship happen. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it's that falling in love stage is great, but man, it's the work after that do I
Yeah.
really love this person to commit to doing this work?
Yeah. 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 The falling in love, that's so much default, right? It's your physiology, biology working. You're really,
Yeah, pheromones, all of it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're working with somebody for a month of sessions, and is there follow-up beyond that? Um,
Yeah, so sometimes um, if my clients are coming more like in the fresher stages where they're just married or a few years they are into a relationship, so the love is still very fresh, but their feelings are hurt and they're fighting and they can't get in onto the same page. Those kind of things. Those are easier to solve because the love is there and they
mm-hmm.
to learn some tools and skills and clean up their little bit of their mind and their words. Those are easier. Um, and one package, like 3 months, one set of sessions is good for those clients. But then there are others who have been with it for a long period of time, where the love begins to wear away, and it's more more of the relationship is the hard part, and the love is really beginning to wear away because it has been consistently not good for a long period of time. So those require more time. um,
Mm-hmm.
Months is not enough. To see initial changes, 2 weeks are great. In 2 weeks you can begin to see some change, and 3 months you will see many changes. But if you've been living with something for a longer period of time, then they need to work longer. Just like when you go to a doctor, if it's an early symptoms you catch, it's easier for them to treat you and be, better. If you had something long drawn, it may take a long period of time.
Sure, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just had a question on the tip of my mind. Where did it
Mhm.
go? Yeah. So you're working with somebody. Do you ever find like the best solution is not to stay together?
That that is tricky. Yeah, that is tricky. One of the trainings I did, it was very focused on staying together.
Mm-hmm.
um, my own personal, then have done other trainings also. My own personal, I cannot decide for the client, right?
Right.
I can work with them, I can show them the tools, but in the end they get to decide whether they want to. It's like there's a lot of knowledge that you can learn from, tools that you can learn, and at the end of it you're going to either get closer or you're going to get clearer on your situation, right? Either you all of it is begins to work and you're feeling closer and nicer, or you get clear that this is just not working out. Then at least you have the satisfaction that you learned about it, you worked on it, right? You got clarity on it, and now you're in a better situation to move on to something else in your life.
Yeah. You gave it your best shot.
Yeah, it's an empowered decision at that point. And I think having a choice is great, and
Mm-hmm.
choice after acquiring the knowledge and having done the work is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I I've been through multiple relationships. I'm on my third marriage, and sometimes they just don't work out. And I've just always been under the feeling that if it's, I've put it this way, I've seen people that stay together for decades miserable, and I just think life's too short to be miserable. And if you give it your best effort, or if you're in a situation where you're abused mentally, physically, emotionally, sometimes it's you got to get out,
Yeah,
especially if the other person isn't willing to see it or make changes.
yeah, yeah. And it is difficult, but then the world is big. The world is huge, right?
Yeah,
You find a place.
yeah, yeah. So, can you think of any big success stories that you've had in working with couples or
Yeah.
women?
Most of my bigger success stories are the ones that are coming in the stage I described, where they do have love for each other, but it's just there's too much arguments and fights and communication problems that are happening. Like one of my clients, she came in, she was a few years into her marriage, and she was like, very sad and crying, and the divorce word was thrown in the marriage, and just didn't know what to do. But I worked with her for 3 months, and actually around call 8, which is like 2 months, she was like, I don't know what else to talk about, things are going pretty well now. So
Oh,
we
great.
some of the calls to just talk about schedule, like how to manage your day and schedule your day and things like that, more like life coaching instead of relationship coaching, because she felt pretty good just after a few weeks, and just clearing out her mindset and learning the tools. She used to be very anxious about everything, a lot of things to do, and then fights happening at home, and then even one time just leaving and staying with a friend for a few days. All kinds of things that happen, and then um, and in the end she calmed down a lot, and she was like, I had so many things to do during the day, and I was so tired, and my dishwasher broke, and in the past I would have gone in complete panic, but this time I washed my dishes with my hand. It was kind of meditative and therapeutic also. So I was amazed that I was able to slow down and be in the moment instead of panicking. Like, what? The dishwasher is broken. I can't do anything. I already have so many things to do on top of it. And that flows everywhere, whether it's your relationship or how you manage your day. So those kind of things. So she didn't even use all her 12 calls. I think 10 calls she was done. Um, she felt pretty good.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love success stories.
Yes.
How have these techniques played into your own marriage?
um, so some of the techniques, like for me, identity, the system I teach, identity is one of the pillars for it. Um, for me, when I moved here, in a new country where I no family, no friends, and then I started raising kids, um, and really no support, no community, and my husband has busy work, so it was just me and my child, the first one at that time. So I kind of just immersed myself into children and all of that, which is great. But I realized after a few years that I need to save something for myself also, because nothing else is going to be with me at one point except myself.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to work on my identity, which meant which took me on this path of taking all these courses and learning and becoming more empowered myself. Um, not I didn't even know what self-care is at one point, right? It was all for the family or the kids. So
Hmm.
learning self-care, taking care of myself, and not just physical care, your mental, your growth, your place in the world, being part of the community, having relationships. So I had to re redo all those components of my life. That um, that has been the biggest one for me.
That's a lot of work.
Yes.
Yeah, especially when you've been in that selfless service mode of raising a family, doing all the things, and you kind of lose your own self identity.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense. So, what else do you want to share with us about this?
Yeah. So I can talk more about the program that I do.
Okay.
I created my RICE model, RICE. So where R stands for relinquishing control. So in a relationship, if you go through a day, if you take an audit of your day, and you find out all the times that you had an unpleasant feeling, and if you write it down, most of the times it's going to be something like you wanted something done in a certain way. It's like the other person either did not do the thing how you wanted, or did not say the things how you wanted. They did or said something else than like what you were expecting or wanting. Most of the times, that's it, right? um,
Mm-hmm.
so identifying all those time, or like how much of it you really want to control, and how much of it can you let go.
Yeah, yeah, it comes down to having expectations. You know, how high are your expectations of others and the things you assume that they're going to do a certain way.
Yeah, yeah. So just being more mindful of all the places that feeling is coming in, and being able to like get very clear and simple in your thinking. I really don't need to bother with all these things. If it's 10 on 10, you're wanting things your way. If you analyze it, you can reduce it to maybe 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 wanting your way. The others can slide. So being able to know where you're just exhausting yourself too much, um, right? Relinquishing inappropriate control, the releasing inappropriate control is huge. So to be able to know where you are unnecessarily using up your mental energies, just holding on to things in a certain way. There, that's huge. And then I is for identity, as I said.
I want to stop you there because
Yeah,
what with the relinquishment, I mean, I've known some people that have to be in control, that and to let go of that control, it's like not a part of their being. Have you had anybody that is so stubborn in that control aspect and how do you break through with that?
yeah. It's you can't control other people, but like if you can find in yourself all the things that you're wanting to control. If you have kids, let's say, if your mind is seen this way, like, okay, today we are going to go to this park and wear these shoes and this and that, and your partner comes in and says, or the kids say, no, that one, or even that. Our brains don't like change a lot, right? It's easy to do the same thing again and again. Nah.
Mm-hmm.
So if your brain has seen something a certain way and somebody comes and tries to change it, your brain doesn't like it. Eh,
Right.
So, that's the reason you want to control, because your brain has seen it or expects it a certain way, and then having to change it to some other way, it's more work. So, knowing those things during a day, or even on a vacation plan, if you're going, and it can be any simple thing in a day. If you plan something a certain way and a change has to happen because of someone else, it's not a pleasant experience. But knowing it as a fact that for most of us, our brains don't like change. Just if you know that one thing, then you know, oh, that's happening to me automatically, that my brain is not liking this change, or
Yeah.
most changes my brain doesn't like. Then with that awareness, then you can catch yourself. Oh, that's what is happening.
Yes.
And then you can be more open to the other way of thinking. Okay, I don't have to go by what my brain is wanting me to do, or whatever the default it has going. You can make a more conscious decision that take a deep breath. That's okay, no big deal. We can do it this way this time.
Yeah, that works for some people.
For some people,
I mean, some people that just doesn't work for.
yes. And again, uh, to to make somebody else let go of a lot of control is not an easy task.
No.
Can only hope for other, but uh, most of this work is, if you can work on yourself, right? That's
Yeah.
where one has to start. If you can just work on yourself, that's a big win. Like if we're wanting to change someone else, we can't even change ourselves. So
Right.
identifying your own patterns and seeing where you can let that unnecessary control go, that's, I think, the first work. Because others, you can only influence them. You
Hmm.
can't go and make them change unless they are coming for help and are wanting to do it.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And you were going to talk about the I next.
I is the identity, as I said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just getting lost into your relationship or love, you got to love yourself first. You got to have a relationship with yourself first. You got to be able to sit by yourself and be happy in yourself. You got to be able to uh, s- know how to spend time with yourself and be happy in that also. um,
So
yeah.
are you encouraging people to do that, to seek solitude, to sit by themselves, to be with their inner thoughts?
Yes, yeah, and that comes a lot in the last one, emotional adulthood. It's like knowing your emotions, knowing yourself, right? Thinking about you, your body, your thoughts, not just using this body all day long externally and never really sitting down and giving any awareness. The you get to have this body, or you have a liver working, or you have pancreas working, right? We never think about all these things that make us go, that are our bestest friends, that make our body go all day long for such a, for long, whatever our lifespan is.
Yeah.
uh, Being very mindful of yourself, being very thankful for every cell that you have. And identity, so the self-awareness, self-appreciation, and then also your likes, dislikes, knowing yourself, what you like, what you don't like, what your hopes, aspirations are. Then having a plan for growth, what are things you enjoy to do, where would you like to grow personally in this world. All those kinds of things, like you have an identity of your own, you have a position of your own in this world. And then C, RICE, C is for connection. So in any relationship, connection is super important. And connection comes how? Connection comes from gestures, things you do for each other. Connection comes from the words you use, right? And the words you use are coming from your brain, either what you have absorbed from this whole world until now in your brain, how you deal with things, what your patterns are, all of that, all of that chemistry going on in the brain. So the words that you use, that creates connection, the gestures you use create connection. And love is an action word. So the things you do for each other, all those things create or destroy connection. And then the last one, E, is for emotional adulthood.
I want to go back to the C for a second.
Yes, yes.
Um, just because I want to add one thing that
Mm.
it has been really important in my relationship with my wife, and I think we often talk about, like, we see other couples and we're like, man, I'm glad we got a strong, good relationship. But
Mhm.
one of the things that's really important to her and me as well is that quality time of looking at each other's eyes. I mean, a lot of times we're with somebody, but we're kind of doing our own thing, or we're not really, that connection's not quite there. And just taking the time to look in her eyes lovingly, and and she'll do the same. I mean, that connection to me is so important.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not just that physical, oh yeah, we're in the same room, or we're both doing this or both doing that. It's like, no, we're connecting through, the eye gaze is so important.
It is.
and
Yeah.
and feeling that love. I mean, the body language and the expression is so important. Maybe even more important than the words.
Mhm.
So taking that time to show her that, hey, I love you, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, and it's magic.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Eye gaze, acknowledging each other or connecting to the each other at such a deep level of an eye gaze. Yeah, eyes are an amazing part of our body.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
all.
for sure.
Yeah. And then the last one, the emotional adulthood. So just like we become adults, we are more responsible. We can take care of our bodies, and we can take care of us in this world. Emotional adulthood is that we are able to take care of our emotions. So when we are, as humans, we are all flooded with emotions, right? Sometimes this, that, whatever happens. But as you grow into an emotional into emotional adulthood, you are able to manage those emotions more instead of having to, like you said, react. Like you get flooded with emotions and now you have to react and do something with that or change something in the world with all those emotions. That would be react. Emotional adulthood would be to be able to manage it, to be able to separate out the facts from the thoughts, to be able to not get swept with the drama of the situation. That's emotional adulthood. That you can see, okay, this is happening and this is what my body is feeling right now. And our bodies feel like our throat gets tight, or we have knots in our stomach, or our head is beating so fast and the skin is getting heated up and face is all red. That is happening. But being able to realize, oh, all this is happening to my body, and it's okay, just focusing, beginning to focus on your body more than the drama that is happening, allows you to acknowledge it, um, and not have to react with it in the world, but more, they call it like process it. Let
Mm-hmm.
Just see what's automatically happening in your body, and that awareness is just going to reduce what is happening in your body. And
Yes. Some call that the observer mode where you're,
mhm,
present to what's happening.
yeah.
I remember back in the early 90s when I started taking yoga, um, conversations with my employer, I noticed right away that they started changing as my own self-awareness grew. Because I was doing that. I was being the observer, like, how am I responding physically, emotionally, without even saying a word? Like, what's processing in my body? And I found by being in that observer mode, then I can actually speak more intelligently, more clearer, and watch, what other emotions are going on that would like shut me down at that moment. Yeah, whether it's fear or embarrassment or anything like that. So I think that's really important. And it's the first time I've heard that term, emotional. Say it again, emotional
Emotional adulthood.
adulthood. Yeah, and I've heard emotional intelligence a lot.
Hmm.
Are they the same?
It could be the same emotion, and the opposite of emotional adulthood would be emotional childhood. And
Okay.
what we do as children, we have all the emotions, and we get angry and frustrated or throw things, or that's emotional childhood, when we get flooded with emotions and we have to do something. That's how, the way we are processing that is really changing something in the world, like throwing something or yelling or this or that, right?
Yeah, tantrum.
Yeah, tantrum or this or that. And emotional adulthood is where we are able to process it within us and not destroy something out in the world with our words or with our hands, and get to a better place, um, and do something with those emotions instead of destroy something with those emotions.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen that a lot, even in past relationships where that I've been in, where the partner would feel it necessary to break something. It's like,
Hmm?
why?
Yeah. And
But
in the initial phases it works because they both have that give, that much give. But that give goes away as time goes on. So it's a better strategy to move towards emotional adulthood
yes,
as
much better.
time goes on. It pays off much better, than to keep using the initial give in the relationship.
Yes, absolutely. I like this. I like this model. You call it the rice model.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those were relinquish. Is that the first one? Relinquish control,
Or release control,
release control, and then
unnecessary.
unnecessary control, and then identity.
Yes.
And C once again was
E was connection,
connection. Yes, and then the emotional adulthood. I
and
like
then the
that.
adulthood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all this to me seems like it really, comes down to awareness
Hmm.
and an own self development. Um, and I think you get so much of that from yoga. And you, being a yoga teacher, do you bring that in, or is this two separate things that you do?
No, these you can bring them in, right? All the when we do yoga, we're doing similar things. We are getting more aware of our body.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say a simple example, when you're going through poses, what's feeling tight? How's your right shoulder versus your left shoulder, or right leg or knee or whatever. Just being aware of your own body, and just separating yourself from the world at that time, instead of worrying about all the things. Just focus on yourself. Similar things like when we say processing the emotion, you're again focusing on your body. When you're taking a breath, in a very hyper situation, you're practicing in yoga. Just let everything else stay as is. You just take nice deep breaths, or you look inward. So it is kind of the similar, lot of focus on you, same as in relationships, a lot of focus on you, because we would like to change. Most of our efforts are directed towards changing the other person, because it would be so much easier if they just did what we wanted, or they said wanted, right?
Yeah.
You can keep trying, and you will get somewhere. Out of 10, you will get 2 or 3 points, of course. Mm. And you can keep trying, I don't mind. But then if you want to move further from those 2, 3, 4 points, you need to start directing some of the energy on yourself, to go further.
Yeah, it's like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like be the change you want to see in your relationship as well.
Yeah. Yes. And again, this is not to scare anyone off. No one can be perfect.
Right.
Everybody, no matter how good you get at emotional adulthood, there'll be times you are just flooded with emotions and you want to let it out, which is fine. We are all humans. But when we know all these things and we've practiced it, the chances of us making a more favorable choice is going to be more, than all the time we are just reacting, or just automatically things are happening to our body with no control from our side.
Yeah. And when your partner sees that you're making efforts and strives and working on yourself, I mean, they appreciate that. And that's going to
Yeah.
go a long way towards,
Yeah.
their happiness with you, and also the possibility of them wanting to work on themselves to be different.
Yes, yeah, yeah, definitely. If it's a clear case where it's a complete mismatch, yes, you don't want to spend your, like, you will move away. But there are other cases, so many times, so many relationships where you are together and you are going to be together. So might as well learn some tools and strategies and mindset changes that are going to make that journey better for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's lacking in a lot of our society here, is not having those tools, not knowing what to do. I mean, you get in a relationship, it's going bad, and then you're stuck. Um, and I've been to relationship, counseling and therapies and stuff like that. That I've And a lot of times it seems like they just want to listen. They're not really providing tools. They're not really talking about creating that self-awareness, about the meditation and all the things you need to make those changes, to develop that self-awareness and to be a better person.
Yeah, that's an important point you said. Again, coaching and therapy, the one of the major differences between therapy and coaching is more hands-on. So we're like, okay, let's if these are the issues, these are the struggles, let's get some skills to work on these. It's very hands-on. And of course, to use those skills, you have to analyze your mindset also. So
Hmm.
that's always a part of it, but you have those tools to work on it. While in therapy, traditional therapy, you may spend a lot of time digging the past and those kind of
Tell
things.
us about your mom and dad, blah, blah, blah.
Which is important
Place the blame on them.
coaching is very hands-on,
Yeah.
so it gives you practical, in the moment tools to create a better future.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found anybody that's, comes to you and says, I can't do this?
I can't do these things.
Yeah.
So, one, I appreciate all the couples or women or single people who come to me. I really appreciate them, that they are wanting to take the step of working on themselves.
Hmm.
trying to figure out solutions themselves. That is so. I just appreciate people who want to do that. When two people are going, they may usually just go in front of the coach or the therapist and fight and blame and complain, right? That's it.
Yeah.
But if you're going yourself, you are going there with some responsibility that, hey, I'm having these problems. Please tell me what I can do, right? The other person is,
Yeah.
please tell me what I can do or what I can do differently. Or so I really like the responsibility people come with the open-mindedness they come with, um, and and future focused. They're future focused. To they want to create a different future. Um, and sometimes and during the journey they're like, yeah, I can't do this.
It's
Right?
it's a lot of work. I mean,
Yes.
to change yourself, if you don't have that motivation,
Yes. And how many
it's
people are meditating? How many people are doing yoga, right? It's hard to just even sit for 10 minutes by yourself. What do you mean? So it can be the same with this. But
yeah,
but then they also realize that it pays off. So most of the people who are coming to me, they know they're coming with responsibility.
that's good. I'd be it'd be rough if they were coming to you and saying, "How do I change my husband?"
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they can come in with that, and slowly I have to bring them on the track that there's something else more productive we can do here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, one of the bigger things I say is that you don't worry about being 10 on 10. You don't have to be. We are humans. We are going to be angry. We are going to be mad. We are going to be flooded. We are going to do all these things from time to time. Um, but if you understand, you analyze, you practice newer ways, you're just growing yourself and creating more opportunities for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
So, little change of topic here. What type of yoga do you teach?
Mm. Um, a few years ago, I was doing a lot of vinyasa yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I really like hatha yoga a lot because vinyasa
Okay.
wrists start to hurt with all the flows. So I really like hatha yoga, so just be able to do any pose anytime I want. And lately, restorative or yin yoga, that's pretty relaxing. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, including meditation and all of those. You tell me, Jim. Tell me a little bit about your yoga experience, your likes, dislikes.
Um, I used to have my own yoga studio, and I taught a lot of yoga, a lot of different. I used to call like people would say, "What kind of yoga did you teach?" And I called it eclectic. It was
Mm,
kind of a mix of different things. I did really. I taught yoga teacher training, so I taught about the Yoga Sutras, and I always had my students read the Bhagavad Gita because I think those are two amazing, powerful books. So we talked more about in that teacher training more about the union with the divine, and everything else just being tools to get you there. Um, so, I mean, I taught everything from a little bit of Kundalini to restorative. I like teaching kids yoga. That was always a blast. So I taught a little bit of everything.
mm, nice.
Yeah.
And during your yoga trainings, where have you had your trainings and what experiences have you had?
I had actually when I opened my yoga studio, I brought in people that to teach yoga teacher training, and I took their training. Um, and I took a lot of other trainings that were a little outside of yoga,
Mm,
like Dale Carnegie's programs, which are really powerful. And what was the other one called? Landmark. I don't know if you've
mm,
heard of Landmark. Another I mean, all these are kind of like yoga, but with a Western twist, in my opinion. And then I
mhm,
studied a little bit with Amma and then did Sadhguru's programs, um, a few in Michigan, and then went to his ashram in Tennessee. Um,
mm.
and then I took a bunch of other, workshops and different things on Usara yoga and this type of yoga and that type of yoga, and just always
Oh,
kind of just blended it to try to meet my students' needs where they're at.
yeah.
Because as you know, you can't, not everybody fits into one box. You kind of
Hmm.
gotta bring the right. teachings to the person. And I always found that tricky to do in bigger classes because you get so many different varieties of people. You can't serve all their needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
That's a
no,
very background. Yeah, lots of experiences.
yeah, yeah. And then I got into after I left teaching yoga, I got into nursing and became a nurse,
Mm.
and still doing that a little bit, and mostly focused on meditation and with my own practice.
Yeah, that's nice. All
Works
the
for me.
Yeah, all the patients are lucky to have you, and yoga teacher, meditation teacher as a nurse.
Oh, thank you, appreciate that, and I appreciate you coming on our show and sharing what you're doing. If somebody's interested in working with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, my website is www.priyankacoaching.com. So it's P as in Paul, RIYANKA, coaching .com. So there you're able to book a free consultation call with me, and we take things from there.
Oh, I love that they can book a free consultation
Yeah,
to see if it's a fit,
yeah,
mutually.
yes.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, great. Any final thoughts before we close out here?
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to know about you, Jim, and all the wonderful discussions you have on your podcast. Sorry to have missed the Beachman today, but
Maybe next time.
hello to him. And thanks again for such a wonderful conversation and the opportunity to be on your podcast.
My pleasure. It's great to get to know a little bit about you and the work that you're doing. I think it's a beautiful thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Yes.
So if you just listen to this podcast and you appreciate the content and the work that we're doing, we would love your support. Look in the comment section of this episode. Subscribe, rate us, comment. This gets our podcast in front of other listeners. And if you noticed, we don't have advertisers. For the cost of a cup of coffee, you can help keep it this way. Become a supporter right now. We'd appreciate it. I'm Jim the Yogi.
I'm Rick the Beachman.
Peace.